Okay, it appears we're live. Let me just reboot. Let me just refresh over here and make sure I'm getting all of my chat. Okay, looks good.
I see you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next edition of Grader's Notes. This is where we get four geeks in the same virtual room and we kind of dissect a book from our semi-classic past and decide if it was any good. And not only do we have us four astute gentlemen here grading said books, but we also have the fifth grader, and that is you, the person out there in the chat throwing scores out just like us. So this is definitely a democracy here. So everyone is definitely invited to join in and give their opinion, especially if you've read the book. I'm going to go ahead and wait for a couple more people to pop in the chat because it wasn't supposed to be on my channel tonight. A certain person who will remain nameless absconded, shall we say, his ability, not really absconded. He's just abstaining tonight from doing it. But so, you know, hey, we like adversity and we're going to persevere. So if I'm a little unprepared tonight, it's because I really wasn't expecting to be hosting, but it is my book, so I should be talking about it anyway, right? So while we got people coming in the chat, I'm going to go ahead and have everyone kind of go around the room and introduce themselves if for some reason you don't know who they are. So starting off to my left, Mr. Comic 84, please let them know who you are.
I am the victim of persecution and injustice from the copyright monolith that has its firm grip around the necks of content creators here on YouTube. So let me just begin with that. And my Wi-Fi connection is at an all-time low, which I think is further a conspiracy theory. So forgiveness for, you know, my glitchiness, but hopefully my audio will come through and you can hear these hot takes that I have for Shadow of the Bat this evening. Thank you, Genome, for hosting.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So moving right along here, we go to the venerable leader, if you will, at least of knowledge on our little panel here, and that would be none other than Mr. Metarog. Metarog, if you want to just let the people and the masses know of your wisdom and just kind of do a quick introduction.
Well, you cut me to the quick, Gino. Really, you do. With that putting that pressure upon me, that the weight of the intellectual community upon me. But thank you very much. Of course, I am, just tickled pink to be part of this August group, this fantastic foursome. And tonight, you guys really have me at a disadvantage because I know you all guys are Batman fans and you know about his history and you know about all the ins and outs of his artistic, past. And I am not that versed. I am conversant to a certain degree, but I am definitely not an expert. So I am hopefully going to be able to hang in with you three tonight. So pray for me, chat, please. Thank you.
Well, the great thing about Batman is he's so, ubiquitous in the public realm out there that everyone just knows who he is, and most of his little ticks and nuances. So most of his books aren't any really big mystery until you get to something more exotic fare. So speaking of our Cape Crusader over there, Riley smiling down there from the Great White North and the cold winds of pseudo summer, we have none other than Mr. Miracle up here, gracing us with his presence. Mr. Miracle, please endow us with your wisdom and somewhat levity.
Somewhat levity. All right. What does somewhat levity mean? You mean I'm only kind of funny?
When you agree with me, you're funny, yes.
It's like that, is it? It's like that. All right, no worries. Very excited to be here. Batman, one of my favorite characters. I'm glad David picked a Batman book for us to review today. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing what the chat thinks about it. Always like interacting with the chat. Hopefully we'll get enough people in here. Looking forward to reading the chat where I could see Chad kind of, hype himself up saying that he's the best there ever was, but I'm the best there is, the best there ever was, and the best there ever will be, Chad. So watch that in the chat.
Well, all right. So that's a rather inauspicious start of ours with no conjecture at all. leads
He's
us
so humble,
into.
isn't he? He's just
Oh,
a demure flower, I say. You know.
I tell you, demure being the operative word there. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at some people we got here joining us. We have the ever-present Unruly Simeon, everyone's favorite online primate. Welcome, welcome. Also a great giver of Punisher books, by the way. Comic collector is in the house along with him. We got 90MF Comics, and I'm just going to read titles. I don't go everyone's names. Hell, I usually forget them anyway. So
That's bad.
who else do we got in there? Gray Man coming to us from across the pond. It's very late over there, 2 a.m. I appreciate you tuning in to watch us again. He's actually one of our founding members, believe it or not,
That's
until he abdicated his throne. That's the word I wanted to use earlier.
What's up, brother?
And that's basically everyone right now. So we'll just wait a few more moments before we get started. Let's talk a little bit about why I chose this book. Everyone knows that I'm kind of a Marvel fanboy. I do have Batman hanging behind me. And Batman was one of the few DC comics I collected back in my collecting days. So, lest I get stuck in a rut of always picking a Marvel book and angering our Canadian board member, I decided to go with the DC comic. Last time I went with a Dark Horse, and this time it's going to be DC. But fear not, next time it'll be Marvel again. So, back to greener pastures, as it were. So, yep, chose Batman. It's just kind of funny pick up in the fact that it was popular. It was one of the few DC books that was really popular back then, at least that I recall, was Batman. And then Batman 2 was coming out, so the hype was real. So I won't get into it too much because it might cut into some of people's stuff. But that's kind of the reason we're going through this book. But I thought this book was really cool, and that's why I picked it. It's actually one of my all-time favorite number ones. So, and it also has other meaning to me too, in the fact that this is one of my great flood survivors somewhat, but not unscathed. It's funny because I have the first 5 or 6 of them. They're all perfect condition, but number one got hosed. Yeah. So it along with the other 90% of my collection looks like that. So, but okay, I don't know if we got anyone new coming in. So let me get a timer rolling here and give me 1 second. Unless someone else wants to be the timekeeper. Let me just do this.
Tell time.
Miracle says he can tell time. That puts him above me at least.
Yeah, but don't read it in metric. We don't understand that. So
Right. They have those 24-hour deals.
So I stay on abacus duty, so I got my abacus ready for when it's time to add up grades.
And I'll be slumming over here. So
all right. Usually, Metarog handles the chat pretty well. That's his forte, and he's obviously a well-liked gentleman. So I will not rob him of this. Each of us will have about 2 minutes to talk about the book, or excuse me, 3 minutes. You want to do 2 minutes or 3 minutes tonight, guys? Let's do.
You can do 2.
You want to do 2 minutes? We're getting started a little bit later than we wanted to get started, so we're going to do 2 minutes. And about minute 45, if you hear the Thunder Chicken here, well, I don't have it pulled up right now, but if you hear the Thunder Chicken, you'll know it's time. You have about 15 seconds to get your thoughts.
Unruly Simeon is not too crazy about this character. He goes, Batman, an overrated phenomenon that will fade away soon enough.
That's a little facetious. Or,
well, I'm sure in 1930s they thought something of that nature, but he has stood the test of time. I got to give him credit.
Yeah, he actually kind of kept them afloat, I think, for quite a while, if you want to be honest about things. But so we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to go through 5 different categories. We have cover, interior art, concept, story, and your overall score. And we're going on basically a 10-point scale, but we're going 1 through 5. So you can do a 4, 4.5, 5, whatever. So let me just share this post real fast, and there it goes. All right, that's done. And that's basically it. So we're going to go ahead and start off with our northernmost member this evening. We're talking about, once again, Batman Shadow of the Bat number 1. So, Mr. Miracle, if you would be so kind as to lead us off on the cover. What do you think about this cover?
All right. So, yeah, Canadians don't know how to tell time. The sun doesn't set here in the summer.
Jeez.
All right, the cover. So I'd never read Shadow of the Bat before this. It came out in 1992, which is kind of right when I wasn't collecting comics anymore. I was 19 years old, other interests in mind, and comics kind of got put aside. So I never got this one off the shelf. I was actually pretty impressed with this cover. I mean, it looks to me like I like how all the orderlies look the same, right? While they're piling on Batman, this kind of makes them like, an every man crowd, like so much piling on Batman, and the way that's like there's so many of them. What we got, 8 guys going at Batman. That sounds about right, as long as he's sedated, right? So quite liked it. I like the logo. It's not the typical, Detective Comics or Batman comics just rehashed into the logo. So the logo for this limited series is nice, right? Little slanted Batman there. I do like it has a very nice painterly quality to it, which I think a lot of covers should have. The interior pages won't support that kind of ink in this kind of, unless you get really nice paper. So the cover is like kind of the place to shine with the more artistic style, more painterly style. And I think what's the gentleman's name here? Brian Stelfreeze did the cover. I think he did quite a good job of that. Do you like when people draw Batman with like the big ears, like the tall ears? So that I'm a little bit slanted towards that, and as well as I'm a little bit slanted towards Batman in general. Could be a little better anatomy work, but I mean it's pretty good. I mean Batman is really really muscly, and everybody's wrinkly clothed. Anyways, I thought the cover did a good job, and it's probably a little bit above average, so I gave it a 3.5.
All right, 3.5 for Mr. Miracle. Pretty good score, actually, considering it's a different one, isn't it? The art's a lot different than basically anything else out there. So, but that kind of drew me there. So, all right, so 3.5 there for Mr. Miracle. So going in descending order, we're going to go up next to Mr. Comic Head. Comic Head, what did you think about the cover of this comic book?
Oh, this thing right here, Shadow of the Bat #1. Finally, we're talking about my favorite hero, the Batman. This cover's pretty badass. I definitely like the painterly quality of it. Agreed. And like, there's something about this cover. I think it's the fact that it's painted and the fact that it has like this maroon colored border around it, that it kind of looks. I've always thought it kind of looks like the cover of like a novel. I could see this being the cover of like a novel book. And I think it's like a unique take for a comic, honestly. And well, let me click at my screen so I can see it better. I do love the just the overall concept and pose of what's going on. Batman in the center, being held back by a ton of the Arkham orderlies. So concept is good on the cover. I like this like yellow light source that's hitting him on the side is a nice touch. I don't really know where it's coming from or anything, but it just adds a cool dynamic with the yellow belt and emblem that he has going on. Just gives it a cool shiny look. Good stuff, man. I like this. There's so many different costume renditions of Batman too, and this is one that is just the classic. Neil Adams drew him like this for a long time. Of the yellow belt and emblem, the gray, and like that dark blackish with the blue highlight cowl. So I like the costume that they have him in. I'm not huge on big beard Batman, but these are they're just at the cusp of being too big. They're not Sam Keith big, but they're all right. So yeah, great cover. It doesn't totally blow me away though. I actually fall in the same spot as Miracle on this, and I thought it was an above average cover for sure, but not a home run necessarily. So I hit it with the 3.5 myself.
Nice.
All right, coming in a little above average, a little above its peers, as it were. It's just rising above the sea of mediocrity to sail those stormy waters. So, yeah, a waxing poetic aside here, Mr. Metarog, do you agree with your two preceding peers there, or do you dissent upon their decisions?
Well, I have some issues with this cover. And let's start with the positives. Okay. By the way, thank you to ComicHead84 for hooking me up with a digital version, which is awesome because I could not find this in the comic shops that I looked at, and my order was canceled. Well, I'm not going to get into that. I'm taking up my 2 minutes. I do like. Thanks, Ken. I do like that the visage back there of that eye looking in, which I'm assuming that's Mr. Arkham, Dr. Arkham. It gives you a portent of things to come inside. That there's more than meets the eye. It is somewhat obscured by the trade dress, which is actually pretty good. That shadow, that bat shadow, kind of a kilter. I like that. And I do like that painted quality. It's almost like it has imperfections in it. I do like those aspects of the cover. Thank you for showing that very much there, Gino. However, a couple things bother me. You see, I didn't even know those were orderlies. I thought those were clones or androids because they all look alike. And only 2 of them are actually restraining him. All the rest are kind of just piling on to the orderlies, like, on weight. Which doesn't make any sense, I guess, unless there's something in front of Batman that's holding him up. And Batman himself looks like his abs and legs look like they're smothered in baby oil to me. It has a really glistening effect that it's a little too much for me. It's a little distracting, and he does have a nice grimace there, which would be appropriate considering that he's being pummeled or at least restrained by a bunch of some kind of eunuchs. I'm not really sure what they are, but they're very, very odd. So again, I do like the color scheme. I do like that face and the eye in the back that has gives you that kind of creepy something else is going on here. But I'm not crazy about the orderlies. Again, I didn't know that that's what they were. Again, I'm not a Batman guy, and his abs and his legs are just way too stylized, way too overblown and too shiny for me. But I do like the things I like sort of counter the things I don't. So I give it an average grade, 2.5.
All right, going right down the middle, 2.5 for the cover.
All the times I've looked at this cover and had this book, I didn't know there was an eyeball back there. Leave it to Metarog.
Yeah, I didn't either. I've had this book since it came out on the newsstand. So, but hey, that's what we do. The show
cover, guys. Look at the whole cover now.
So, all right. So let's see if my idea actually lines up. I know you had to go messing up my mind. Well, you know what? The mind has everything to do with this this cover and basically the series in general. But let's get into it a little bit. See, I've read some Batman before this came out, of course. So as soon as I saw the name Arkham, I knew something was up. And first, let's just say I think this cover is incredible. I love this like painted on parchment look that they got going on. Like if you see like the skin imperfections on the orderlies, they look like knobbly. It looks like they almost jump off the page, man. I just love this style, and the whole series runs with this style, and it just works. One of the few things I don't like about this cover, it's just his ears are a little too long, and they're really asymmetrical. I'm not sure why one is so much longer than the other one. I do like long-eared Batman too, but this one's a little too much. But other than that, I think it's almost a perfect cover. I'm glad Metarog pointed out there's an eyeball back there. And once again, this fits into the theme. 2 things, if you notice, since there is a big eyeball, none of the orderlies have eyes. So, and they all look exactly the same. So when I saw the name Arkham on there, I'm like, this is Batman going crazy. Right from seeing the cover, I kind of figured this is Batman, tripping out, hallucinating. Maybe the Scarecrow's in there or something. But so I kind of got a lot just from seeing the cover and the title of it. So that was kind of cool. I like the dynamic pose here. It looks like he's actually being restrained and something is resembling realism. This is a little bit awkward right here, but and yeah, they're just piling on him because they have to. He's gonna kick everyone's ass. So that's how they do. They have to dogpile Batman. But I just love this cover. I like this just looks so awesome right there. Just this slanted bat symbol. It's like so 50s and 60s. It's just so retro, and the big balloon words and all that. It's just great, man. I love this cover so much. I bought this right off the newsstand because of the cover. I'm not gonna lie, I thought it looked good. Well, plus Batman was pretty hot in the movie was coming out. None of my other colleagues actually mentioned the back right there, of course, showing off what made this book so popular at the time and really made it move. Plus, at the time, it was sold with some other stuff. We'll get into that more a little later. So yeah, I think it's an epic cover. Love it. It's one of my favorite Batman covers of all time. Actually, the whole series is one of my favorite series covers of all time. So I'm gonna have to go quite a bit higher than my compatriots here, and I'm gonna have to give this a 4.5.
Oof. Strong.
Yeah, high marks for me.
Boom.
And it's just so different. You know what I mean? It's, I don't know. They could have gone with something real cookie cutter, but they kind of just went out there and it's like, we got something new to try. Let's see if it worked with Batman because we know he'll move, somewhat. So, and see if people like it. Obviously, it wasn't too incredibly popular because I didn't see it really anywhere else. But
Yeah.
I think it
Gina,
worked.
we got a couple new guys in the chat. If you don't mind, I'd like to recognize them.
Please do.
We got Joe47771 in the chat. Welcome, Joe. We got Bake the Snake in the chat. Say, how's it going, guys?
Bake is going to wallow in the muck.
And we have
of
Omega
avarice.
Comics in the chat as well. Welcome.
Welcome all. Welcome. Once again, sorry for the last minute kind of heads up on the stream. We just changed channels last minute due to technical difficulties. So appreciate y'all swinging in. All right. So we got the cover down there. So we need to get the 5th grader. Oh, I'm sorry. What was that?
No, that's right. That's what I was saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So we need the chat to get out there and give us our grades. Yeah.
In here. Oh. Yeah. With the quality of people in this chat, man, I'm happy with whatever it is. What do we got? 10 people in here, what have you. I'm happy.
It's a little lower because it's on my channel, but
We got a grade through the ropes already.
We got a great group of 10 people. Sure.
Oh, yeah. We have our chat is never wrong. That's my mantra because these guys are always on the ball. All right. So are you ready, guys?
yeah, we got some scores rolling in
All
now.
right. The
who's got
Gray
the-
Man, our alumni, is coming in with a 4.5. Unruly Simeon coming in with a strong 4. Tim the Comic Collector, 4.5 is my grade, even though that eye freaks me out. Now I know that it's there. Oh boy. Joe comes in with a 3.5, Bake with a 3.5, and Chad, YouTube is 90 with a 3.5.
A lot of 3.5s coming through there.
A lot of 3.5.
Yeah. Seems to be the consensus. They kind of agree with
Yep.
Mr. Comic Head and Mr. Miracle themselves. So
Of course they do. They always agree with
It's like
me.
I'm on the outs. Oh, Omega Comics. Hold on. Omega Comics
Ooh,
with
Omega
a
with a
perfect
5.
Oh,
5.
Omega Comics. Loved it.
thank you, Omega.
Woo!
See, he's feeling me
Wow.
right there. Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
He knows quality when he
Hi-yo.
sees it.
I'm on the outs on this one.
Yeah, you and I are the outliers on the yeah.
damn.
I'm
previous
not
to,
outlier. I'm
That's an
underwater.
average chat grade. Chat grade of 4.
4. Nice.
4. All right, I like it. That kind of
That
meets
comes
with
through.
us. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody seems pretty impressed with this cover.
All right. I mean, I haven't seen anyone say it was real bad. You
It is
sometimes you'll
very
say like a
nice.
1 or
It
something in the
really is.
chat. I haven't seen
Oh,
anybody
no,
say
no,
anything
no.
bad about that. So
No, it's not that bad. No.
the worst I've seen so
No.
far is average. So, hey, that's pretty good for a book, right?
It's not that bad.
All
Funny
right.
You
So
couldn't find this book anywhere, Roger, because man, I was finding it everywhere. I found 3 copies in one LCS dollar bin, 2 more copies at another LCS here in town.
Mhm.
If I
Yeah,
had
I-
enough time, I would have sent you one, buddy, but I didn't know.
I know. I was supposed to get one in the mail, but then the guy said, "Oh, I sent it to somebody else." And I've seen this book left and right. Of course, Murphy's Law.
Ugh.
As soon as I need it, I can't find it.
Exactly right. Yeah.
yeah, even I have 2 copies. I would have sent you one if I'd have known if there'd been
Hey,
time.
that app works pretty good. Huh?
All right. So
Years, didn't you, David?
That's all right. Kenny bailed me out. I'm good.
that's the man right there. Well, I had to do that with what book is it we did?
Yeah, that app works pretty good. Do
Yeah.
you like it?
Yeah.
It's a good app.
I haven't
That
read all
book.
the rest of it because I don't want to taint this one, but I will tomorrow. I'm going to get the rest of it down.
Yeah, I had to do that with
Feel free to up on that
what
app.
was it? 6. Oh, anyway, older book. I had to do the same thing with. Anyway, so let's go ahead and move on to the next category. So we've got the cover covered and it scored pretty well. So let's see if the story does it justice. And we're gonna kind of go in a little bit different order here as far as who speaks first. And who speaks first this time will be none other than Comic Head 84. Comic Head 84, what did you think about the words that were writ within?
Oh boy, the words in this book, the story in this book is why I love Batman. He is in the comic book world, you know, he really is. It's interesting that like this is a very largely Batman-less book. You know, it's got a few pages in the end, but Batman's not in the book a lot. But the whole thing feels like a Batman book the whole way through, because you're dealing with darker subject matter, mental health, psychosis, obsessive disorders, and that's what the Batman world delves into a lot. Trauma. That's kind of what a lot of Batman stories are about. Whether it be Batman's Rogues Gallery, the best Rogues Gallery in comics, or Batman himself. And it's kind of a cool story to see. Like Batman being in Arkham Asylum it's not as zany as a concept as it might be if, oh no, Spider-Man's in an insane asylum. That'd be a wacky story, far-fetched. The thing I like about Batman is he's always kind of on the edge. He's not a bad guy, he's not villainous in any way, but he's so obsessive in being a hero. If you're going to be a human, and I think I'm more going on overall Batman love than the comic, but it's not that I like that the concept of him being in the asylum. I like that they introduce the new Arkham, the new owner proprietor. They illustrate him really well. They give him it's 3 or 4 pages in the beginning. Oh my god! And you kind of know what he's about. The pacing is great. Going through and him psychoanalyzing all the villains as we go is great. Compelling pages to me. I thought everything was written well. Victor Zsasz is a scary guy. He's an intelligent serial killer, the scariest kind. Very intriguing. This is his first appearance, and it's a very intriguing character that they kind of start to tease in this book. And of course, the surprise reveal at the end that Batman is in fact in Arkham's custody as a mental patient it's just a great story, front to back. There was no dull moments for me except for the 2 to 4 pages that Robin and Nightwing pop in. I feel like that could have gotten pushed to the next issue because it did virtually nothing. And that was one of my critiques of it, of they should have just pushed Robin and Nightwing to the next book. But other than that, I loved it. It's great classic Batman, and I gave it a 4.5.
Oh,
High praise indeed from a self-confessed expert of Batman. So that's pretty good. And not, it's cool that he describes it the way he does. Because I mean, there's obviously a little bit of a Batman bias there, but at the same time, you can tell, hey, the story's pretty cool, man. So yeah, I like that little dissertation. That was real nice. So Metarog, do you concur with our august speaker, or do you have to put a dissenting view out there?
Well, he's very convincing. He's very convincing argument about his points. Well taken. But I have some issues here. I'm sorry to say. I'm sorry to be a Debbie Downer every time here, but I have some issues. Dr. Arkham.
No, that's why I love this show.
Dr. Arkham to me doesn't seem like very original. He seems like just one of those sadistic guys that I read a million times before that takes out his jollies on others. And yeah, I like the little nuances they put in there, right? Like he has that B.F. Skinner book, which he's a behaviorist. So he believes in conditioning, punishment, and reward will affect future behavior. So that is a nice touch. That is a logical step. But the way he goes about it, it's very sadistic. It's very, contra, what Skinner would do. Obviously, you just don't start a therapy, based on punishment. You have to do a lot more research. You have to do a lot, years sometimes. And, to me, this is so unrealistic that it bothered me, right? And the fact that he somehow does he have the power to automatically know when somebody is transformed? Because in that one shot, in that one flashback, he's scared. All of a sudden he has a revelation, like an epiphany, and then all of a sudden he can get the other guy to, turn the gun on himself. It didn't seem logical. It didn't really flow to me that well. I do like the characters that were introduced. The Mr. Zaz looks like to be a heck of a villain. Like, it reminded me of Silence of the Lambs a little bit. The guy, he's a cannibal, and he's locked up in this metal cylinder. Very interesting stuff. And then Kenny hit it again. What is that Robin and Nightwing? It doesn't seem to follow in any. There's no reference to it anywhere else in the book before or after. Again, those kind of interludes, which, for a #1 book that you have to have so much foreknowledge, it kind of bothers me a little bit. And to me, it was very distracting. And Batman at the end, I don't buy it. How did they get him? I'm thinking Batman has some kind of end game here. And he's setting somebody up here is what I'm thinking, right? But to me, it had good parts, but the detractions were very distracting to me, and it just did not flow well. And I had too many questions in my mind. So I can only give this an average grade 2.5.
All right. Metarog's got a problem with his flow. How about that? That's more knowledge than we thought we'd actually hear about. So what was your score again there, sir?
2.5.
2.5. 2.5 again. Look at you coming straight down the middle.
I think he missed 2.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might have missed it by 2 there. I don't understand. But hey, to each their own. So I'm going to go ahead and try to follow that up and see if I can improve on
Absolutely.
that score some. So, yeah, I'm definitely have to go on the other end of the spectrum for my astute colleague there. Not saying he's wrong. There's a few things wrong with this, but for the most part, this is a real humdinger, to quote the vernacular. So, I've always thought of Batman as the thinking man's kind of superhero. You know what I mean? Almost none of his rogues gallery has any superpowers whatsoever. Most of them just have some sort of psychosis. Seems to be the problem that they have. So what better place for a Batman story to take place than in an insane asylum? I think it's a great, brilliant idea. Because if you get down to it, Batman's got issues himself. He's not exactly completely compos mentis, So I just like the setting a lot. It is a little odd. You don't really realize how he's in there. And it's really weird because he's still got his full costume on and all that. So yeah, that could be a little bit odd and disjarring or disjointing. Some word there. Discombobulated in there. That's a little better. But I don't know. Just the whole thing. There's very little Batman in this book too, which could probably irk some people. It didn't bother me too much in this at all because I like the Jeremiah Arkham character. I think it's cool. They spend the whole time setting him up and then kind of walking through a few of the more twisted inmates he has. There's like one panel with the Joker in it, one panel with Penguin, and a few others, but they don't have any dialogue like that. So they're not just relying on his old rogues gallery. They're kind of spotlighting some more and new, of course, characters, some more lesser known enemies who are heavily have bad mental issues. So the story just works. I think from start to finish, it just keeps you wanting to read and figure out what the heck is going on. It's like, when's Batman going to show up? When's Batman going to show up? And all of a sudden, bam, there he is. I liked how they kind of led up to that. I do agree with my compatriots there. The Robin and Nightwing's, 2 pages, whatever. That's just in there to put a fight in the book. I can't think of another reason for it to be in there other than to say that those two do survive or do exist in this universe. I don't know, but there wasn't really no point to it because nothing is discussed or extrapolated upon. So extraneous, but it doesn't really hurt anything. Like I said, just gives some more bright colors and an action shot. So yeah, I think the story is really good. It's got kind of a cerebral twist to it, which is always enjoyable. And I'm gonna have to go quite a bit higher. I actually have to give it a 4. I think it's a great start to a first book, and especially with the ending, it really makes you want to read more. And that's the cornerstone of how a first book should go. So yep, I'm gonna give this one a 4.0.
Okay.
So I see someone over there chomping at the bit to get going. So, Mr. Miracle, am I full of bollocks, or is Mr. Metarog a little closer to the mark? What say you, sir?
I like the story. To me, when I was looking at this cover, I didn't clue in that these were orderlies right at first. Like, I kind of grabbed the book, sat down on the couch, and opened her up right away without taking a good hard look at the cover yet. And yeah, I thought it was inmates jumping on Batman here. So when I got through the book and I got to the kind of the twist the Batman was the one in Arkham Asylum, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, right? Because I was thinking along the same lines as Kenny, where we have this book, and I'm like, where's Batman? Where's Batman? Where's Batman? And yeah, I think the writers kind of tacked on that Robin Nightwing scenario there just to like, okay, we need some more action in this book. So let's like have a Robin Nightwing beat some guys up. And it does kind of seem tacked on. However, the story itself, like, I really liked all these serial killers he's talking to. I like the fact that he didn't, just go for Batman's regular crew of the Joker, Two-Face, right? Where the Scarecrow wasn't such a big character at this point, right? He didn't get really big until the movies came out later when, the Scarecrow was in it, Batman Begins. So, pulling up the Scarecrow, not, just relying on the Riddler and the Joker and stuff. And then there's this serial killer guy, Mr. Zaz, or Zaz or whatever his name is there. He's quite scary. I like that they quite an intimidating character, just by what he's saying, right? Because he has no movement. It's like slapped into this tank. You only ever see him talking, but you get quite a chilly feeling from this gentleman. Yeah, it's like using Unruly Simeon was saying, using the trope of the crazy guy in charge of the crazy house. You better have something that kind of hooks you. I don't feel like this doctor quite had enough of a hook for me to 100% buy it, right? But I did I really like that Batman twist at the end. So for surprising me in a comic, which is something that doesn't often happen, I thought the story was good. I'm going to give it a little bit of a back off for kind of an obvious bad guy that's in charge of Arkham now, and a weird scenario with Robin. And I'm going to come into the story at a 3.5.
Okay.
All right, 3.5. Yeah, that seems like a pretty fair score. The other thing I didn't get to touch on was I kind of think that to outward appearances, Arkham wasn't so sadistic. Like maybe when he was trying to take over the facility or when he was trying to get funding for the new building and all that, he'd probably come off as real charming, like a lot of, a sociopaths can, whatever. But he doesn't let his true self like show until he's inside the walls, and then he wants to kind of take out his frustrations on everybody else. I don't know. But that's just kind of how I felt the character was. And you notice how he just sleeps there. He never leaves now, it seems like. So it's like that's where his home is. And that's where, and they even allude to it in some of the journals, like that his father had gone mad, if you didn't know who the character was before. So you can tell that seed's in there. And I think even Zaz brings it up somewhere in there too.
Yeah.
That he might have madness starting within him. So I like the character a lot. All right. So
I wasn't totally opposed to the character. I just think, like Unruly said, he needed a better hook to get me to really, buy into his character.
Yeah. And there wasn't a whole lot of time to, I guess, build him up. They could have given him a couple more pages. Like,
I thought
I mean, yeah.
The connection to his uncle, like his uncle Amadeus Arkham, right? The founder and everything. I feel like that gives you enough backstory to know that there's madness in the family line, which I always thought was a cool hook of like that the founder of Arkham Asylum himself went nuts or was nuts, whatever. And I feel like it's pretty heavily implied that he's got that nutty gene in him too, So I thought he was compelling. I thought he was compelling enough. And his interactions with his like cold, kind of calculated interactions with the villains, I thought made him pretty badass.
Yeah, he doesn't come off as like the mustache twisting kind of bad guy. He's kind of like, you're going to take your medicine. Oh, that's not a choice. And he just comes off as real robotic because I kind of dig that. So that kind of keeps in line with maybe like the whole Skinnerian thing of showing no emotion or whatever,
Let's see what the chat thinks.
Yeah, I think it's time to get the fifth graders idea of score. So lay it on us, people. What's this you think about the story if you've read it or from what you've heard from us? Is it a 1? Is it awful? Or is it a 5? Is it amazing? Tell us your score right now.
It's not awful. I mean, it has really good points, I think. I I just couldn't buy it. Something bothered me. I've seen this too many times before. I guess maybe that's wrong. Maybe I shouldn't take that kind of, preconceived notion into it. But it just seemed like I've seen this movie before.
Yeah, and he is definitely kind of like a Hugo Strange. And
yeah, Hugo Strange-ish. Yep.
they could have just stuck Hugo Strange in there. Honestly, it probably would have worked, but they wanted the name Arkham on there, I guess, which I guess lines up. But it's a funny thing while we're waiting for grades to come in, is I think they patterned. There's a vault keeper. The vault in Marvel is where they keep the superpowered beings locked up, and they made in the story Venom Death Trap the Vault. They made the warden there almost exactly like this guy. But he lost it too, and was getting ready to kill everybody just because of his psychosis and his hatred for superpowered beings. So, but we don't know that about him yet, if he hates him or not. But
and if it rubs you the wrong way, if it rubs you the wrong way from like kind of feeling derivative, then as you read through the story, if you've ever seen, I think it was a complaint that the book got a bit, was like, if you've ever read Silence of the Lambs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mentioned that in my
the way the story plays out review. Definitely has.
There's obvious allusions there, even to his confinement. They made him even more confined, so I guess they want to make him even more of a badass than Lecter. They put him in a tube, for goodness sakes. And
again, what we do here is kind of unfair because I'm judging this on one comic, and not the story arc. Yeah. So I'm sure that a lot of this is going to be fleshed out and it's going to be explained and it's going to be much more streamlined later on. But I'm just saying from a zero person, the person comes in with zero knowledge. That's the impression that I got that I couldn't shake.
All right, I think our scores are pretty much in.
We actually got that so often.
Feed our numbers.
I read it forward.
Yeah. I'm sure the story is going to be good. All right, here we go. Kenny, you ready? Got the abacus, you got the calculator, you got the rocks and the dice. Okay, here we go. Tim, Comic Collector's coming in with 3.5. The Unruly Ones coming in with a 3. Joe, 3.5. Gray Man comes in with a 4. Bake the Snake with a 3. Steve Whiting, thank you for joining us. The AOK Master himself comes in with a 3.5. How you doing, Steve? Another Floridian. And another Floridian, Chad, 90 MF Comics, comes in with a 3.
Florida representing. Sorry I had to leave you guys.
And me too.
I was just down there 2 weeks ago, though.
Yeah, I know. I'll be there.
It's too bloody hot. I can't wait to get back.
So many good Florida.
All right, so how are we looking there?
The verdict is 3.5.
3.5.
I told you that disagrees with me.
Yeah.
The book is coming in strong. Yeah, so far they have pretty much agreed with you.
Dave is on the mark today,
And last time and the time before.
Yeah, right.
He's like the Canadian equivalent of Vegas, I like it.
Stop looking into a mirror all the time, you know what I mean?
But a mirror lit darkly. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our next piece of grading minutia, if you will. We're going to take a look at the interior art and see if it holds up to what some of us thought were high standards for the covers. So I'm going to go ahead and have Metarog lead this one off. Metarog, what say you? Was the art within, is it exceptional? Was it merely, I don't know. I don't have a word I'm not going to use. Was it just good? Was it bad? Or was it ugly? Let us know what you think.
I think overall the art is, to me, the highest grade here. I really think that Breyfogle, I have never seen his art before, by the way. But I really like the splash page gets you because you have a chain gang here led by the Joker and that maniacal smile that he has. And, it sends chills up my spine just looking at that first splash page. And then he has that kind of tropish look where you're seeing at an upward angle this high tower and these guys being paraded out and that purple sky. You know that's a portent of evil to come. All right, so very well done there. Then he does a lot of monotones, reds and yellows, which again sort of tell you that the lighting there is sort of very very mysterious, very just moody, very it's telling you that something this away comes. All right. Very well done. I mean, I think that sometimes he overdoes it a little bit on the monotones, and his art can be a little bit too stylized for my liking, but his layouts are absolutely on point. They're very well done. The story, his art flows with the story very well. Again, he has a lot of art which kind of makes you second guess yourself. Is this really happening, or is this something that is mentally being projected? But again, for this type of comic, I think it's very appropriate. The look on that gentleman that they restrain, what is his name? Stirk, Mr. Stirk. Look at the eyes there. Let me see if I can show that. Look at the eyes there. Look at that. That is stark terror right there. And the sweat, very well done. Again, I wish that the story itself kind of lent more to the art style. In other words, that he had more to work with, a little more action, something like that. So to see what his real chops are. But I think he did a really fine job. This bird here, terrorizing Scarecrow, very well done, swooping down. I give this a 4 all day long.
All right, got a 4 from Mr. Metarog. Excellent score, and your highest one so far, by far. And I guess I will have a tough act to follow because I'm going to be next. So what is it that I think about the interior art? Well, Mr. Breyfogle, I've been a fan of you since Detective Comics days. I love the way he draws Batman, always have. So I've obviously got a little bit of a bias going in. If I have one complaint about the interior art, and really is just one complaint, technically 2, but is he tends to draw heads a little bit long in some of the characters, kind of misshapen. They all look like what was his name from Babe? I can't remember the actor's name, whatever, but they all kind of look like him in some of these shots. So, but you're right, man. The stark terror on Kirk's or Cricks, whatever his name is, Stirk. I couldn't remember his name. That's just incredible, man. He just captures it all, and it's not even like overdrawn or anything like that. He just does it so well with his assured strokes. So, yeah, it's an incredible look inside, and I couldn't imagine anyone doing Batman better. And I've looked at a lot of Batman artists before. I just love the way he does it. The only other feeling I could find inside this book is some of the inks. Like the gum lines are way too red on characters, like Zaz and all that. Looks like that they ate lipstick or something in there, and it's with basically all the characters. So, I can't blame the artist for that. It's not really his fault. But some of the colors are a little too bright for something that's supposed to be disturbing, kind of a mental thriller kind of book, if you will. So, but other than that, yeah, that splash page is what a way to go. What a way to start a book, man. It just looks so awesome. And of course, it's cool that that's the only time you see Joker in this book, really, too, which is pretty amazing. When you take a facility that houses maniacs, you automatically think it's going to default to a Joker story, right? But that's all the time you see him. Yeah. I know the layouts are stupendous. The Batman action shots, what little there are of them, are just amazing. I mean, but I've always loved Norm's freaking. Didn't he just recently die? I think I heard somewhere that he expired. So if I remember right about that, Norm, rest in peace. But yeah, just a great interior piece of artwork. It's a tour de force somewhat inside. I give it a 4. I gave it a little bit lower than the cover just because some of the inks, I didn't care for the color palette so much, but it's a small gripe, and this is a small thing with the Cabeza that didn't like it too much. But yeah, 4, solid, excellent art, and just love Breyfogle inside.
Yeah, he was a real revelation to me. I hadn't seen his art before.
Yeah, look in the Detective Comic runs around 600s in there. I think he had quite a lot of those, and they were excellent.
Yeah, very impressive.
Well, Mr. Miracle, you're a Batman fan of old. How do you think Batman was handled in the art department inside?
I quite like the interior art. I like a lot of the things the illustrator is doing here, especially like panels like this where they're overlapping one another. He does that quite a bit. I like that. It adds a extra layer of depth to the illustrations inside. That's something that we quite often see in modern comics. It's kind of a thing that they do now, but back in this day, that was you know, quite a little bit of difference to do that kind of thing. I think the upgraded paper, considering this is a 1992 issue, helped to make nice, crisper interior art. You get some definite definition on the black lines. You know, we've talked a lot about books being overshaded in Graders Notes. This one, I think that they're just a little bit undershaded in a lot of areas because of it's supposed to be like a dark, Arkham Asylum. Arkham Asylum has always kind of reminded me of like an H.P. Lovecraft novel, someplace that he would set his books into. And so I think could have been more shadow. I know when we do have really dark shadows, they tend to just be like people blotted out rather than like darkness, like being in darkness like that. So that was like, and it kind of comes and goes. Like you get very, very bright panels all of a sudden, and then dark panels. I think this interior one of where they first reveal Batman is kind of a weird looking Batman there. But that, like little minor things like that. Overall, though, it's quite done well, right? The action sequences are done quite well. We talked about how this Robin Nightwing sequence is tacked on here, but like if you're just like not looking at it from a story point of view, it's done really well. The action in here is quite well done. It gives a lot of action with like Robin seems to be putting in very little effort into it though, which is kind of how I imagine, Robin taking a couple of street thugs would look like. Like he's just like, yeah, I do this like 10 times a day. You guys are in big trouble now, right? And without a lot of effort, he's just going to take them down. I like these panels of the serial killer where you only see his mouth, right? That makes him look particularly dangerous, like harkening back to, Silence of the Lambs, of course. Overall, I think it was well done. And again, a couple little things that kind of bothered me, so I gave it a few grades off from there. Definitely like heads and shoulders interior art above your last pick, David, which was a complete piece of crap with fucking Alien versus Predator, right? This is like so much better than that pick. So overall, I gave it a 3.5.
Wow. He can't let go of the past, Gino. Can't let go of the past.
Well, no, I don't let go of things. That's not
really. You hide it so well. 3.5, solid though, solid grade. I don't think we can hear you, Gino.
Let me get your mic off, brother.
Oh.
That's okay. It works well that way.
Uh-oh.
I'll just sub in for David.
All right, there you go.
I thought this was terrible.
Some of the most intelligent
I
stuff.
love Batman. It was my favorite book.
Well, while he figures that out, I think he was about to kick it to me. And while I do that, feel free to chime in just to test your mic.
There it goes. I think I got it now.
Oh yeah, okay.
I think you're good now.
No idea what happened there, but okay. Yes,
You're good.
Mr. Comic Head. So please smack some wisdom down upon us with the flying elbow of your.
We lose him again?
Ooh, yeah.
Again?
Brayfogel's son. Brayfogel doing his thing, man. That opening page is excellent. Great, sadistic looking Joker. The color tones on this I really like. They become an issue for me throughout the book in some areas. Not in the beginning part. I think the areas by the fire, great job. For some reason, I stared at this worker guy for a while and appreciated it when I first read through. I love that panel. Just the way he does the shadows on it. the expressions on the face. I don't know. I really love the fire scenes when he's burning away the remnants of the past and his uncle's memoirs and whatnot. You know, the color palette's cool. You know, you're dealing with a flashback with the green tones. That's all good. A couple people mentioned this page. I agree. Fantastic page. Great expression, horror, terror, the whole bit. I didn't really like the way that he drew. I think you guys probably would have maybe appreciated the Doctor a little bit more if he was drawn a little differently. This guy looks like Butthead. That's if Beavis and Butthead. If Butthead grew up to be a Doctor, that's him, dude. He's Butthead.
Fire.
That irked me. I couldn't stop thinking of Butthead.
Oh, man.
Too funny, man.
So that's a bummer. I heard other people say in the chat earlier that no one has drawn Scarecrow better, and there might be something to that, man. Because I really love the way that Scarecrow just looks awesome in this book. It's excellent. His whole sequence was cool. The hawk or the eagle coming after him. And note to the writing on that. I had never heard that concept before, that Scarecrow had a fear of birds, and that's why he dressed like a scarecrow. I hated this page. I hated the story of it, and I hated the art of it. I don't like the way this center splash is laid out. Even though Brayfo was a master of layouts, I did not like this. It was not pleasing to the eye. The overextended limbs, and he took too much liberty. I don't like it. So that's a negative mark. Did not like the Robin fight scene. I love the way that he drew Zaz speaking through it. Something about the mouth speaking through that little window is creepy. This wacky color palette, I don't think is appropriate for the asylum. Bright orange walls, yellow, green. I think it's too bright and it's a little too funky. I think they could have set a tone a little better. I think some of the Batman is good, but I actually wasn't a big fan of this page. Mm-hmm. I feel like this is the chance for an artist. When an artist gets a page like this and the writer cues them up, this is a softball to knock it out. Hey, bud, you get to draw you get the whole page to draw Batman yelling, "I'm not insane," and ripping the chains from the wall. And what does he do? The anatomy of that shoulder and that arm and his back looks shitty, for lack of a better word. I didn't dig it, man. Usually pages like this, it's a chance for the artist to really knock my socks off, and I spend a couple minutes with the page. I didn't like it. Didn't do it for me. So Brayfogle, I've read a bunch of comics done by him, and it usually is, I have a love-hate with him. I think he does some of the most stellar stuff that I've read with Batman. But then, I don't know, there's pages that I got to be honest, even though there are Batman books drawn by him, he's a hit and miss guy for me personally. With all that being said, it's still a 3.5 in my book.
Wow.
So 3.0 coming in from Comic Head there. Not bad, not bad. I mean, you had a lot of gripes with it, but he still came through with a nice, high deserving score. So
yeah, it's right about that Batman. I didn't talk about that because I wanted to leave some meat on the bone, but that anatomy, look at the leg. I mean, what kind of muscles are there that double up on the calf? I mean, that's
Batman really had some more quads installed. Don't worry, and then he had an extra calf put into. It helps his jumping power. So
he's grafted calves on there.
Yeah.
All right. So we got
very good observation.
We got a 3.5, a 3.0, a 4, and a 4 for the interior art. So pretty high marks from us. So what say you, Chad? Where do you find yourself on the art spectrum? Was it great? Was it stellar? Or was it merely, I'm going to say it now, serviceable? Or was it just, beyond compare and beyond the pale? So what say you? Put it in the chat right now, and we will tabulate the scores momentarily. So what else do you want to talk about on the art here? Yeah, now you got me looking at Butthead. I can never forget it. I can never get it out of my mind now. At least his hair color is blonde and not brown or whatever. But
right.
Well, to me, he just looked like a generic, prototypical, pocket protector doctor, one of those very cerebral, kind of creepy, passive aggressive, kind of guy. That's why I'm saying it didn't look, Simeon is right on the nose here. You need somebody with a very different kind of aura about him, for him not to be so generic, But Kenny's right with that. But that was cool. I like that.
Yep, there he is. Look at that. Oh, hi, Beavis. Give me a good grade.
That's Butthead, when he's cosplaying as an adult, That's what that is.
It's weird that they gave him I wonder if they did it on purpose. He gave him the cool hand Luke, the warden, not the warden, but the overseer. They gave him the mirrored sunglasses. You never see his eyes through the glasses like you would in other books. They gave him that mirrored appearance.
We don't have a fence line. We have a gun line.
What'd you say there, Miracle?
So it's very Bernie Wrightson of him to do that. I find a lot of stuff in here kind of reflective of Bernie Wrightson's kind of artwork. Especially this guy hooked up to the ECT, the electroshock thing. He looks very Bernie Wrightson sometimes.
Well, all right. So I think we got a lot of scores tabulated. So if Metarog will be so kind to read these numbers off to our human abacus.
That's right. All right. The unruly one coming in with a 4. Gray Man, 3.5.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, Tim, the comic collector, come in with a strong 5. Ooh, he must be a real big fan here. Chad, 90MF, coming with a 3. Bake the Snake, 3.5. Joe, 47771 with a 3. Steve Whiting, the AOK Master, with a 4. And Biggie Shack has joined us, the other side of the Mega Power Hour, coming in with a 3. I think that's it.
All right.
Comic collector. I graded with my eyes open. Funny.
Most grades we've got this show. That left us with the 3.6, which means we round down, right?
Down,
to 3.5.
3.5.
Like I said,
Man, y'all quit sucking up the Miracle over there,
7.5 and up, it'd be 4.
Man,
This is my channel, damn it. I'm going to start booting everybody. All right.
he'll never get the head out of that hat.
Someone buy this man a Batman cowl and be done with it. All right. So
He'll never live this one down.
we're down to our last 2 categories here. And the last one is a little more ephemeral of the categories. That is concept. Now, other than me, did anyone else get this on the newsstand when it came out?
No.
Okay. I don't know which editions you got.
No,
I'll get into that a little bit more. Actually, it's kind of my turn to start anyway, so I'll get into it a little bit more. Hopefully I don't ruin anyone else's thing. But this book had a couple different things going on for the concept. Now, let's start with the book itself. The concept itself was nothing too groundbreaking, whatever. It was just a new series startup. That's all it was with an established character. It's like Web of Spider-Man or Spectacular Spider-Man on top of Spider-Man. So it's just another Batman book. And they tended to have a different style with these books. I have quite a few of the issues after this. And the stories it seems, I don't know, it's a little more serialized than Detective Comics was. So there's a lot of carryover in these stories all the way through the series, So, the concept of actually the book itself is nothing too spectacular. It's just, like I said, it's just starting a new series as Eva is going to take off and sell. Now, what was really interesting about this book when it came out was that it took X-Force, the whole concept behind X-Force and the bagging and all that, it upped it. It was pre-sealed in a poly bag, and it came with, as I recall, a poster and a diorama. I can't remember if there was a card in there too. It had a freaking diorama of Arkham Asylum in there. I think you can still get that every now and then. So that part was really cool, man. It was really catchy and eye-grabbing. I seem to recall it wasn't just like a standard-looking poly bag either. It had some design on it. It was really, really cool. So that was really nice. At the time, that was what was popular. So it'll help add on to my score a little bit, but not too terribly much because it's nothing that we hadn't seen before. It's basically just DC aping what Marvel had done so well. once again, they released it concurrently, basically with the hype for Batman 2. Batman original was so popular, and there's a huge hype train going for part 2. So they just released it right on the heels of that. So it was kind of a no-brainer for them. They just wanted to make a lot of money, and they needed to. Batman sold, so why not? So yeah, nothing too spectacular going on here. Definitely higher marks if you include the original packaging that it was in, and other than that, I just give it kind of a middle of the road 2.5. It didn't reinvent the wheel, and it didn't do anything too crazy, but it was just solid. So yeah, 2.5.
Okay.
All right, let's see now. After my very middle of the road, my first middle of the road grade so far, let's see if Mr. Miracle agrees with my assessments.
All right, so concept-wise, it's pretty typical. I mean, right up to the point until you get to Batman being in Arkham Asylum, right? So I don't think Batman has been trapped in Arkham Asylum before. So that was good. Like I said, it kind of threw me because I thought we were looking at a cover with inmates piling on Batman, and later when I found out it was orderlies and that he was in the asylum himself, I liked it quite a bit more. So concept-wise, kind of trying to make a spin on things and put Batman in there, that was good. Putting in the typical, this is Arkham, these are a bunch of crazy guys that live here, crazy guy A, crazy guy B, crazy guy C, and crazy guy D, the doctor, is in charge of everything. So that's pretty typical. So concept-wise, really could have stretched it out. There could have been some more in there. And, I think it's that little bit of lack of concept that's why we get little flashes of Robin and Nightwing in there trying to jazz things up a little bit. Not overly impressed. The concept, I think I'm going to have to give it my lowest score of all of the scores that I gave it here, and just go like dead middle of the road at a 2.5, because they could have definitely had some stuff added to this book that would have set it apart from just the typical Batman and Arkham story. And yeah, like I said, Batman was trapped at the end, but most of this book, like 98% of this book, Batman's not even in it. So until you get to that point, it's pretty much typical. Yeah, this is an Arkham Asylum story. So yeah, 2.5. That's my grade for overall concept of Shadow of the Bat.
All right, 2.5. So, hey, finally, we see eye to eye on something. It's amazing. This is one for the books. I'm going to end the stream right now. I'm going out on a win.
Yeah,
So,
this is like
Go ahead.
the hell with it, right? So, all right, 2.5 and a 2.5. So, yep, straight down the middle of the grading scale. And let's see if that trend will continue. So, Mr. Comic Head, what do you say? Was this middle of the road for you too, or did you lean on one side or the other?
How could I go middle of the road when you did not misremember about one of the most glorious bag of goodies that came with a comic. The bag was cool. It came with a Shadow of the Bat bookmark.
Nice.
It came with a map, a pretty detailed map of the Labyrinth Arkham Asylum, which was damn cool.
Wow.
A poster print of the cover art, a poster print of one of the other covers in the series, and one of the nuttiest things I've ever seen come in a poly bag. A pop-up diorama of Arkham
I remembered!
Asylum.
Yeah.
You did remember right. So this book had one of the most insane bag of goodies ever, so truly a bribe. Like if you buy this comic, we're gonna give you a bunch of swag. So you can say that's a plus or a minus. I don't know, but I thought it was really cool. That's great stuff. I don't know what the cover price was for the bag edition, but anyway, that part is a plus for me. The overall concept of introducing Shadow of the Bat, Batman was your more like kind of traditional action stories. Detective was always the series of Batman where you got the more thinking Batman. name, the more detective side of Batman. And I think Gino mentioned it also of, they were kind of cashing on the Spider-Man concept of, sure, Amazing Spider-Man, Spectacular, Web of, Peter Parker Spider-Man. Like, hey, Batman's cool enough to do that. We can get some more blood from this, we could get some more cash from Batman. So, they started Shadow of the Bat, which ran for a long freaking time. And I thought they did something cool with it. It's all in continuity stuff, so it wasn't like too wild. They always did pretty unique stuff with it. Like this I thought was a pretty unique story. As this Shadow of the Bat continued, that's No Man's Land happened, which was kind of like a unique concept of Gotham breaking off from the rest of the country. Cataclysm. There was a few stories that like they kind of reserved Shadow of the Bat for kind of the more offbeat ideas. So I mean, it's a worthwhile. I don't think there are any like huge home runs in the Shadow of the Bat series. So maybe it was like, hey, let's just put out another Batman title. But it was still unique enough to warrant its existence. I thought this introduced Victor Zsasz, I think one of the most underrated Batman villains in his rogues gallery. I love Mr. Zsasz. So props to this book for bringing him into existence. A true like what a Batman villain should be is Victor Zsasz, and he's yet to be portrayed really well in really animation, film, or television. So I'm hoping he gets his day in the sun. Great character. So yeah, that's my thought on Shadow of the Bat. It was, at the end of the day, it was let's get some more money with an extra Bat title, but that's not more Batman's not the biggest crime in the world, is it? So I give it a 4 for concept.
Wow.
All right, 4 for concept. High praise. So
Wow,
this is
strong.
not just serviceable. This is like exceptional. I like that. I like that a lot. Actually.
What can I say? Batman over here on the comic in Massachusetts right now.
All right, so we have one final grader actually 2 if you get down to the chat, but we got one final grader on our astute panel here to give his rendition of what he thinks about the concept of this book. Mr. Metarog, please smack some wisdom down upon us.
Well, okay, if you insist. My initial impression of the concept here is actually kind of a bifurcated one. First of all, Kenny has kind of changed my grade because I'm not aware of the incredible amount of swag that came with that polybag. So that has swayed me to a certain degree, and I think that's kind of something that you have to really take into consideration when you think about the concept here. Because yes, you're right, they're selling a new Batman title, and they the same thing that I said before, I'm going to say again. What kind of hook, what kind of novel idea did you have to get me to buy this comic, right? So to me, the cover didn't really do it, but if I knew all that stuff was in there, yeah, I'd consider it, because it's a lot of cool things that I can display in my comic room, or things that I can use perhaps for future episodes, stories, if you have a map of the Arkham Asylum, et cetera, et cetera. So I think doing that was smart and sort of set it apart, like when you talked about X-Force, which you just got a card in there. It set it apart because it was just, such a over-the-top amount of stuff. But the concept of the comic itself, I think is not that bad, because it seems to me like, again, this is only one issue, but it seems like they're really focusing, like I think Kenny was saying, Batman, I think it was more of a crime fighter, the detective was more of his, cerebral, and this is more perhaps like a psychological. We all know that he's a very obsessive individual, and he's very motivated because of what happened in his origin, and that's something to me, which is something I'd like to, have seen explored. And I think this is a good vehicle, if that's indeed what they did, to sort of introduce the Arkham Asylum as supposedly a sanitarium. Again, you would think that they would have psychological experts, et cetera, and try to figure out Batman that way. Perhaps that's another kind of inroad into trying to see what Batman really is. Is he a vigilante without any remorse, or is he a man who's trying to redeem something of his past, right? and is he dangerous to the common citizen? So I think if that is their hook, if that is their angle, that's not a bad concept. Now, I'm not going to go with Kenny. I think 4. I mean, that it's not quite that outstanding, but I still think that considering it could have been a cash grab, that they put some thought into it. So to me, I was going to go 2.5, but because of all that other stuff that they put in there to sort of sway, the common, buyer, say, hey, are you going to buy this comic with just a cover, or are you going to buy this with 5 things in it? I have to give it a 3.
All right, 3.0, good solid score once again. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely
And I did confirm the dollar amount, by the way. The whole unopened package retailed. The whole package retailed, because I found the price printed on it. It retailed for $2.50.
What a bargain. I mean, where else can you get a diorama for $2.50? It's awesome.
Not bad.
But all right, so there we go. Slightly above middle of the road for Mr. Metarog. And that leaves one final grader. Chat, all of you astute viewers out there, what say you? Is this concept of Shadow of the Bat a good one? Is it a poor one? Or is it just middle of the road? So give us your scores right now, and we shall tabulate with reckless abandon.
Grayman is upset because he gives it a 1 because he said he was stiffed. He never got any of the swag.
I'm surprised because I mentioned this book before, and a lot of people didn't know it was polybagged. I mean, that's just how it was sold, at least on the stands when I was, buying it. I bought a couple issues of it because I was speculating pretty hard on it. But I think I still have the one. One is still polybagged down there. I have to go dig it out of the tombs. But
we might have to get that to Grayman somehow.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Like to get mine. I bought it. Yeah,
dude, it's so cheesy, but it's so cool, man.
I didn't open mine. I bought it with all the stuff in there. Yeah, luckily I found it. It was opened carefully. The top was opened, but yeah, they didn't take anything out. So I feel like I was lucky to find it in the wild, with everything intact but opened. I'd like to find a sealed one one day.
Nice.
All right, chat. You're slowing down on. We need grades here. We need grades. So if you want to have your opinion heard, speak now. Forever hold your peace.
Well, we got a sour grapes 1.
I think this episode is making me realize my. I think this episode is making me realize I may have an inherent Batman bias that I wasn't so aware of.
No, I mean, it was kind of, like I said, that they took what Marvel did, and it's like, okay, you polybag your stuff and stuck a card in there. We're going to friggin' not only 1-up you, we're going to 5-up you. We're going to put so much stuff in here that people are just going to have to buy it in droves.
Yeah. And
I'm not really sure how many issues this issue actually sold, but I know it was no X-Force or anything like that, but I know it sold pretty well. But yeah, it was interesting that they went that route. And they also did the same thing with Robin 2 Joker's Wild. They said, we're going to bag this. So they took everything Marvel did and friggin' upped it. They did holograph covers, variant covers. They bagged it. They stuck a card in one of the sets. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. They just, it was just kind of funny how they kind of tried to 1-up Marvel at their own game.
Oh, they did that all the time. They always tried to 1-up each other. Like when one did a graphic novel, the other would do a commensurate one, et cetera, et cetera.
Hey, and that's the wonder of free market capitalism,
Correct. Right.
I mean, competition's great for the consumer.
That's right. You got it. Great for us, great for the consumer, because again, it gives us more options and hopefully drops the price because there's competition. Well, let's not get into laissez-faire economics, but that's the theory, all right?
I know. Next week we talk about the Louisiana Purchase. So,
I can go on and on about that, but
so we can. But anyway,
and
we bought Alaska from Canada.
Our viewership will go to 0. So let's not do that, Gino.
Well, I think we got some grades to tabulate.
Right.
So, Mr. Ragnar, if you'd be so kind as to announce them, please.
Let's see. I think Grayman changed it to a 3, Kenny, because maybe we changed his mind there, that it was just for some reason he just didn't get the polybag version. Now Bake says 5 bonus points awarded for the most swag with the book. Wow. Joe 4771 comes with 4 because of the polybag. Interesting. Biggie comes in with an average grade 2.5. He kind of agrees with most of the panel. And I think that's it. I think everybody else had to go to. Oh no, Steve Whiting is still around. Steve, thanks for sticking around, buddy. He comes in with a 3, so he agrees with moi.
The 4 Chad 90 left. You put a 4 up.
Oh, he
Yeah,
did. Okay, thanks. I didn't see that, Dave. Somebody's paying attention.
All right. So as soon as we get these sweet, sweet numbers back, we will know. But it sounds like it's going to be pretty much in keeping with what our scores were.
Whatever my score was, just put it down.
Oh, Yve.
I think
The
it's
chat
higher.
agrees with me with 4
4.
for the concept grade.
So 4, huh?
Numeral
Pretty
4.
high. High marks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Actually, chat's getting consistently high marks tonight.
Yeah.
We'll go over that here at the end. But, well, that leads us into our final category, the overall score we're going to award to this book. We've kind of come full circle here with our categories. So we'll be starting again with Mr. Miracle. And once again, I want to thank everyone who is in chat for hanging around for as long as they have. And we won't be on too much longer, but we'll have some announcements at the end. So be sure to stay tuned for after the show. So, Mr. Miracle, if you would be so kind as to give us your overall score, please.
So overall, I was okay with the cover. Interior art, it did have some of its problems. I liked the action sequence. I liked some of the concept designs of the characters. I thought it could have used more shadowing. I agree with you guys that there's lots of tones in this book that don't seem appropriate. Lots of oranges and stuff on the walls, bright oranges. The writing was decent. I liked the surprise of Batman being there. I might not have liked that as much if I'd have been on the ball and noticed that he was being tackled by orderlies on the cover. So they maybe should have hid that, because having that kind of surprised me at the end was good. And if I had known that beforehand, I probably wouldn't have been as enjoying the interior story. Concept is pretty typical. So, it's a lot better than, an aliens versus predator kind of thing.
Oh boy. That
Definitely.
horse has been eaten up by worms long ago, Dave.
It's definitely a lot better than a few books that I could think of from this era. It does, I found these couple copies in the dollar bins, and I was like, oh, that seems weird. They're nice mint-condition copies of the dollar bins. Now I realize they're supposed to come with a poly bag and a bunch of stuff. It's no wonder they were in the dollar bin.
Mm.
Who wants to have a plain copy when you can get all the stuff with it? So now I'm like, I'm looking at my con. No, I'm not so happy with it. Well, I don't get all the stuff. I'm gonna have to go and find all that stuff because I want that 3D diorama. Overall, though, I think it did a little better than above average, or than average, and not quite above average, but just a little bit better than average. And I gave it overall 3.
All right, 3.0. Yep, just slightly above average, but not bad. So he actually scored that about 3 points higher than he did any of the categories from Aliens vs. Predator. So good figure. All right, so moving right on down the line, Mr. Comic Head, what were your thoughts on the overall product?
As I review my blueprints, the contractor blueprints of Arkham Asylum, and just stunning detail, it really makes me appreciate Arkham Asylum as a setting for the book, a Hiram Contracting Company. Renovation notes really lay that home for me. And yeah, man, I think I probably do lean favorable most of the time for Batman stuff, because I just really appreciate the world that's built around Batman. I think it's just really unique when you put him up against almost every other superhero in existence. Batman stands out. I think it's really something special. So I will say the chat. So when I looked at my grades, the chat agreed with me with 3 out of 4 of them. The cover at 3.5, I think, is it's a really eye-cap cover. But like I said, it looks more like the cover of a novel to me. Interior art of 3.5, concept of a 4. I think the chat strayed from me on the the writing and storyline being a 4.5, but it's just so up my alley and what the kind of stuff I like to read, kind of noir, little, I like villain books, so I like that this issue delved into the villain's psyche a lot, and just dealt with them. Was cool for me. So yeah, man, a fun ride. I'm a man of math and numbers, if nothing else, So I always kind of base my overall score based on the average of, the grades and shit that I put together. Which comes to a 3.875 according to the Abacus, and which really, sums up, I think, how I feel about Shadow of the Bat One, which I really love that back cover. I think Gino showed that before. Keaton, Batman Returns. Damn, I give that a 4.5 cover. Back cover. Can we start grading the back cover?
We could.
So 4.0 for my overall take on Shadow of the Bat. I think it's a fun ride. Interesting take on Batman. And yeah, 4 is kind of where I fall on the overall.
All right, 4.0. Very high marks there for Mr. Comic Head. Had you read this book before? We did this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
I think I have this first story arc anyway in single issues. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have like the first
I'm a
6 or
big
7
Zaz
of them. Yeah, Zaz is really cool, and he is a major player throughout this.
And all the covers have this pink style, which is
and they actually continue it on even after that too. Like 5 and
Yeah.
6 kind of have that kind of matte style, whatever you want to call it. So, all right, so moving right on down the line, Metarog, what did you think about the overall product here? Was this bat-tacular, or was it simply a standard fare DC title?
Somewhere in between those two, I'd say. Let me just go down what I think, just sort of touch on things. The cover, again, I really liked certain aspects of it. Certainly the eye and the brow, the shadowing there, the purple colors, the texture of the cover is really well done. But it's the middle is the problem, which is the most of the cover. That those clones or androids, that's what I thought they were. Very confusing to me. I didn't really get a Arkham vibe from them necessarily. They all look exactly the same unless they're cloning them. That was not in the story. Batman, I like his expression, his face, the eyes, whited out, very intense, but his musculature is overly exaggerated and too pronounced. I know he's straining, but it wouldn't go that bad. So I gave that a 2.5. The art inside is to me the home run here. Very well done layouts. That splash page, I wish that was in a sense the cover, but I wouldn't want to take it away because it's pretty much a perfect splash page. The monotones that he has and the kind of the vignettes almost in the background are very well done. And again, they sort of give you that kind of creepy, that ominous tone of the book. Again, that terror expression on Mr. Stirk is just one of the best emotional expressions I've ever seen in a comic. Again, there's just a few little problems with the coloring and the shading, and I'm not crazy about some of the little action sequences like Kenny mentioned. It just looks like a ridiculous horizontal panels there. But other than that, I gave it a 4. The story, I just couldn't buy it. I'm listening to you guys, and I'm still not buying it. To me, it's derivative. It reminds me so much of so many movies I've seen and so many comics I've read. It's nothing so distinct. I do like the psychological aspects, and those were emphasis, and those were a little different, but it didn't have enough of that. I wish it had. It's cerebral, but it's in a sense it's too rushed in a cerebral. It goes from one guy to the next, and we just sort of get a thumbnail of them. I wish we could delve into them. I know it's one comic, but I'm just being nitpicky here. And Batman at the end, I really don't buy it. Obviously, there's something going on there that's beyond what is being shown. I don't buy that they could have captured Batman in any way, shape, or form. This is some kind of setup. The concept I think is well done. Actually, I think the psychological aspects of the comic, exploring the villains and what makes them tick, and like you said, and the similarities between them and Batman and their psychosis and his obsession and the behavioralist theory and conditioning. All those can be mixed together and applied to both. I think that's not bad, and with all that swag, I gave it a 3. So overall, putting all that into the cement mixer and seeing what spits out, I got to give it a little bit better grade than average because of that incredible art and the really well done concept. So I give it a solid 3.
All right, that's the most negative 3 I've ever heard in my life. But yeah, that's a very, very fair score. You obviously put aside any misgivings you had about a lot of the shortcomings of the book and kind of gave it a good score as an overall product. So kudos to you, sir. Kudos to you. Hopefully I can be as objective. Well, it's a little hard for me to be quite as objective because I picked the book. I didn't pick my favorite Batman book or story or anything. It's just something I thought was interesting for the time because we kind of tend to go back in this, this era a lot. And I remember this book pretty distinctly because this is basically the height of my collecting back then, back when you could walk into an LCS back then, even, when books were $1, $1.25 and still not get everything you wanted with $20, almost on a bi-weekly basis. So yeah, the hype was real for this book, along with the movie. So it pushed a lot of units, I'm sure. I never have looked at the overall numbers, but as easy as they tend to be to find nowadays, I have to imagine they sold a lot of them. So yeah. So as an overall product, just kind of recapping some of my scores, I actually gave the cover 4.5, the highest score of all of my categories there. It's just, I don't know. I think it speaks for itself. It's totally different from most of the stuff you see out there. It's eye-grabbing. It's eye-catching. It's got that kind of noir kind of look to it, at least with the titles and all, and just a lot going on the cover that kind of somewhat gives away what's going on inside to a point. Like you can tell there's gonna be a psychological thrill in there because of the batons and the Arkham kind of reference there for those of you who knew the character. So give that a 4.5. Interior art was also spectacular. I thought, gave it a 4. There were some pretty poor shading and inking choices. I'm not sure how much, the artwork itself had to do with that, but it is an overall product. So, it takes away a little bit. So 4.0 for the interior art. For the story, I thought it was really strong. Introduced some pretty cool characters, and it was like an ensemble cast. Batman was just a bit player basically in this book. I mean, the book is centered around Batman, but he's not featured in the story at all. It's actually just some lowly human. Arkham's administrator is the focus of the book, but it also kind of segues into focusing on the inmates themselves, and you're kind of getting an idea who is Batman's probably going to be dealing with in the next couple issues. So it does that pretty well. I gave the story 4.0 for concept. Yeah, I gave this one, people were probably surprised, I gave it only like a 2.5, right in the middle of the road. The book itself didn't do anything too new, either concept-wise or the concept of the book itself. It didn't do anything new for sales. It was just, a bagged or unbagged version you had that lined up really well with the movie release. So they just jumped on, they stuck the caboose on the hype engine and just let it roll down the tracks. So, but yeah, for those of you who can find the sealed polybag version, as you can see that Comic Head showed us, there was an absolute ton of swag to be had within the polybag goodness there. So yeah, I mean, that helped it out a little bit, but I didn't go too crazy with that because it had been done before. So I gave it 2.5 for the concept, and my overall score wound up being a 3.5. I would like to have given it a 4, but I'm not gonna, bump my score up just because of, I'm gonna try to stick to the math score this time because I think it's kind of fair. It's much stronger than average book, I'm gonna say, and I definitely enjoy it and I highly recommend it. But it wasn't anything too spectacular. It did a lot of things well, but the concept kind of hurt it. I just wasn't a huge fan of the concept of it. So yeah, gave it a 3.5. I think much better than average, and I don't know. We'll see what the chat thinks, but I have a feeling they'll probably be a little bit higher than me, but that's where it is. 3.5.
3.5. A little above average.
Yep. See, I was even tempted to give it another half a point because it's the book I picked, and I remember liking this book a lot, but I didn't do it. So, I mean, there's fault to be had here, but I think it hits a lot more than it misses.
I agree. There's definitely a lot worse Batman stories out there than this book. It's it wasn't a bad pick at all. I'm actually kind of happy that you picked it. It would be, if I come across the rest of the series, it's definitely one that I would consider picking up. I mean, I wouldn't pay like a top dollar for it, but yeah. And now that I saw that swag, I want that swag too. I want to find a copy with that's in a polybag still. That's cool.
Yeah, man, that's worth half a point at least. Man.
Yeah, cool. Apparently it was available bagged and unbagged. So $250 for the bag.
Gray Man is depressed, that he didn't have that stuff. So that's got to be worth more than a point, half a point.
Yeah, like where I was growing up, there wouldn't have been the bagged ones. It would have been only what you could get in a grocery store. So,
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah,
all right.
Generally pleased with this book.
See, I mean, I think the general consensus with all of us, it's really solid scores across the board. Let's see what the chat says. Chat, do you have an overall score? Do you have just some number you want to pull out? Or we could tabulate the overall score with our human abacus over there. Looks like it's going to be a 3.75, though. I can tell you the math. The chat gave the cover a 4, interior art a 3.5, concept a 4, and the story a 3.5. So I guess we can round up there. So that'd be a 4 from the chat. But
That's pretty reasonable score.
Gray Man's coming in with a 3.5, and Biggie Shack. These are the two stalwarts staying throughout the whole thing. It's coming in with a 3.
We are going a little bit late, so I won't hold it up too much longer. But
Gray Man,
at this,
it's got to be what, 3 in the morning for him or something? 4 in the morning?
getting close to 4. Yeah, it's 3:35 or so.
Oh,
He's over in England.
Well,
3.5. Steve Whiting has also been in here the whole time. Steve Whiting, 3.5. Thank you so much, Steve. It's an honor to have you in here, buddy.
So,
What was that, Kenny?
So that looks more like a 3.5 to me, Kenny.
sorry, I think. Yeah, and I know I'm so delayed, I can tell because of my lousy connect. Apologies for that. I was just gonna say I was just thumbing through the eBays to see, and just so everyone knows, you can get this baby polybagged for an absolute bargain. I'm seeing like between $4 and $10 for that thing bagged, sealed.
Wow.
So scoop up your copies, and there's tons of them. So that's everyone's homework after this episode of Graders Notes. Drop $10 at least on a sweet polybag Shadow of the Bat 1.
Miracle's already put his order in.
We're gonna start a trend. We're gonna start a run on Batman.
Oh, sure.
Well, all right. So
another comic will be on CBSI's top 10 hot list next week.
it'll be a run on the book. People, it's like the stock market.
Like, we don't know why it's going crazy. That's because Mr. Miracle told them to buy it.
Yeah, that was it.
Well, anyway, we'll go ahead and start winding this down. This is the point in the show where we announce the next book that we're going to be reviewing, and also if anyone in the our panel here has anything they want to talk about real fast or anything they want to plug, and this is the chance. So, Mr. Metarog, you have our next book. So, if you'd like to go ahead and let the chat know what we'll be reviewing. Right.
Well, this next comic, I asked the gentleman whether this would be a good idea, and I picked it for a certain reason, and not necessarily for the quality of the comic book itself, but it is a milestone comic book, and perhaps it is an ancestor of the current state of the market, because now there are no more newsstand editions. So to that end, I chose The Great Dazzler #1, the first all direct sale comic from 1981. So, gentlemen, get ready to be bedazzled in 2 weeks.
I'm not too proud. I like her design, at least when she got the blue suit on back in the 80s or whatever. It wasn't too bad. She got a haircut, but I didn't think she was a horrible X-Man. She was pretty goofy at the time. She was like a pre-Debbie Gibson or pre-Tiffany, but it works, It's like roller derby.
Well, let's not shoot our load right now, Gino. Let's let things simmer. Let's let things, coagulate, and in 2 weeks We'll meet back here, and we'll see what each of you gentlemen, either nay or yay, think about all the different aspects of this particular. You can deny many things, but you can't deny that it was a milestone book.
Oh, that's true. Well, since you're already speaking, let's go ahead and keep you on a roll. Is there anything you want to talk about on your channel that's upcoming or in your life that you want to disperse out here to your loving public?
Well, thank you very much, Dino. I just want to say that the chat, as always, has been the superstar here. And if you haven't followed my channel, I don't do a lot of the things that a lot of other channels do. I don't do anything about new comics. I don't do anything about speculation, Mr. Miracle. I don't do anything about about values. Okay, my channel is primarily about my experience with comics, my particular goofy, obscure, and sometimes quirky view of them. So I do contest entries every weekend. I do the contest roundups every Thursday, and then I'll do my special video probably every Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on my schedule. So check on those three during the week if you like those type of comic videos. And thank you.
All right. And the community really appreciates all the work you do on those videos, by the way. Between you and JB, man, you got a lot of karma coming your way. So Comic Cat 84, what's happening in the land of your channel other than no live streams?
Yeah, no live streams. I'm plagued with a shitty connection lately on every show I'm on. So my channel's in shambles, everyone, basically, is the moral story. I'll do what I can. I'm gonna, So I got some calls into Vince McMahon to lift my strike, and I got some calls into Comcast to fix my damn connection. So, working working on it. But great pick, Metarog. I own it, but I don't think I've ever read it. So very fun pick. That just seems like it's going to be a fun time to go through that book. So good stuff, Metarog. The only thing that I'll, plug for upcoming stuff is I think tomorrow night the Mega Power Hour will go on, but it's going to be on the Immortal Biggie Shack's channel. Night. We're going to link up and try to make it happen. So stay tuned for that. I think it may be a groundbreaking episode is all I'll say. There may be an introduction of a new persona, perhaps, tomorrow evening on the Mega Power Show. So you might want to check that one out, either live or in replay. And besides that, I noticed this show gets some of the coolest chat members in the community, like just kind of the more I'm not sure the word I'm looking for. You guys know the word, but I don't.
Offbeat,
but maybe astute readers of comics. No, I think I did find it. Astute readers, like I can tell people that hop in here are not just the flipper, the collectors for values, like you were kind of saying, Metarog. I can tell the people that show up to a Graders Notes are people that appreciate reading comic books, and I think that turns out the best that best of the bunch that the community has. So it's always a top shelf chat. I appreciate very much. I think this is a top shelf panel that I do the show with. Genome is a freaking Johnny Carson interviewing machine lately.
Amen.
Which is awesome. Mr. Miracle stays doing his thing. I'm loving the Hitman persona that's kind of bubbling up. We got to get that tournament going real soon. The Hitman from the Great North. And Metarog, a true gem of the community. Great guy, great content. I just love just about everything about Metarog. So I'm very happy to be on a show with him. And that's it. That's all I got.
I'm blushing red.
What does he say? Big says, "What's 84 doing?" I'm just kind of rambling at the end of the show, and thanks for joining us.
All right, so our next panelist needs no introduction, so we'll just skip right over him. So I'll talk about what I'm going to do. No, I'm just kidding. Dave, what do you got going on, man? What's up and coming in Mr. Miracle Land?
Hang on a second. I got a loud motorcycle going by here. Anyway, so after 2 weeks vacation, this Wednesday, I'll be back with another one of my videos on Wednesday. It's been a while, so be glad to be back on YouTube. I'm real curious about what's going to happen on the Power Hour tomorrow night. Funny that it'll be on Biggie Shack's channel. I mean, maybe your guys are going to go out and try and get him striked out too. So that could be an interesting chat to watch. Other than that, man, I'm just getting back from vacation. I took a lot of plans off the table to make sure I wasn't like disappointing anybody. Just got back yesterday. So yeah, just looking forward to Wednesday, getting back into my regular routine. I like my videos. I like the little speculation, the videos that I put out there, right? All of my speculation comics are, dollar bin divers or cheap comics that you can pick up. I don't speculate on the $1,000 books. That's not my forte. There's other channels out there for that. So I personally like it because I want you to get books that are way undervalued before they become on that CBSI top 10 list. And I've kind of been looking back for a while, and I've noticed that a whole bunch of the books that I was picking 7-8 months ago been showing up on the CBSI top 10 list. And these books are hot now, right? So I do a little video somewhere. It's kind of around that kind of deal about having some patience and watching what's going on with the market and stuff. But other than that, business as usual.
All right, well, keep on keeping on, man. All right, always great to have my learned colleagues over here. And sorry you got stuck on my ghetto channel, but it is what it is. As for me, I got quite a few irons in the fire, as those of you who somewhat will follow my channel will know. I have a couple more comic reviews coming up. I want to do another one of the Garth Ennis trades that Unruly Simeon sent over to me. I did one a while ago, but he sent me like 5 of them, so I feel like I should do a couple more of those. I have a couple more one-shot books that I want to review. It's too hot to ride motorcycles, so right now the vlogging is slowed way down, but that will pick up again here as soon as the cloud cover actually comes in. Now, as far as the interview portions of my channel, I have what I find to be very exciting news coming up. I'll go ahead and kind of break it now. I'm going to put a video about it tomorrow, but I basically locked in my next 2 interviews. Next one should be next week sometime, and that will be with former MMA fighter Elvis Sinisek. You might remember him as the king of rock and rumble from the olden days. I've been a correspondent of his since like 2002 or something like that. I've known him a long time. So he's a really interesting guy, man. He is an entrepreneur, and he's a fighter, and he's kind of a Zen Taoist, if you will, and just interesting guy, man. So I'll be talking to him next week. And at the beginning of next month, I have got a reply and a confirmation from Mr. CJ Graham to do an interview. CJ Graham, for those in the know, was Jason in Friday the 13th, Part 6. So I am slowly collecting the characters in that movie, and hopefully I get to talk to all of them at some point. But I got some other feelers out there, so we'll see. But those are the 2 announcements that I have for interviews coming up, and it's pretty much it on the channel. So I'll put this in the video as well. But if you have a question for either Elvis or CJ, send it to me in either Instagram or put it in the comments in the video tomorrow or whatever, or one of my other videos. I look at them all, and I'll try to work them into the interview itself. So that's basically it for what I have coming up.
Really cool, Dave. That's really cool. I look forward to that interview.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that one there. Ooh, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I know. Like I said, it's if I can get them all for one movie, that'd be great. But I got a net cast wide, so it's just sometimes it's hard getting a hold of people. They don't want to get back to a small guy like sometimes. But most of them are really cool once you get through. So, but so all right. So if anyone didn't have anything else to add, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap up here.
All righty.
All right, I think we're done. So, hey, once again, for those of you in the chat, we really appreciate you hanging in for our rather long-winded showtime. We got started a little bit late tonight, so we do apologize, and we also apologize for kind of channel bouncing. But, it is what it is in YouTube and the internet. You're kind of, a slave to the bits. So you got to go where the bits will let you go. So we're just glad you hung out with us all night and bi-weekly, as you always seem to do. And we really appreciate you. And that's it. We're going to support all your videos all we can, and make sure to tune in the next time. We'll put an announcement of whose channel it's going to be on. We don't know yet for sure. maybe Metarog will host one day. But in any case, we're going to sign out for now and look forward to us in 2 weeks to review Dazzler #1. So everyone have a good night, and Gray Man, go to bed, for God's sakes. It's about daylight over there. So until next time, this is Greater Notes and Genome signing out.
Good ski.